Hello and welcome to Pinchu TV. The Pinchu TV creator is busy, so this episode is once again being presented by a substitute narrator reading the prepared script. This is the program where we look at Philippine companies, Southeast Asian markets, and the economic stories shaping the region, using public information and clearly stated data. Today, we are reviewing the trading week from Monday the 10th to Friday the 14th of August, 2026. We will cover 7 markets: the Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam. Here are the 3 main points. First, Singapore was the strongest market, gaining 0.79%. Second, the Philippines was almost unchanged, up 0.11%, but the peso weakened by about 1% against the US dollar. Third, Hong Kong and Vietnam both fell by more than 2%, with the weakness concentrated late in the week. This program is market commentary, not a recommendation to buy or sell any financial product. Let us begin with the Philippines. The Philippine Stock Exchange Index, or PSEi, moved from 6,290.35 on Friday the 7th of August to 6,297.30 on Friday the 14th. That was a gain of just 6.95 points, or 0.11%. The final result looks very quiet, but the journey through the week was not. The index closed at 6,289.21 on Monday. It rose to 6,326.89 on Tuesday. On Wednesday, it reached 6,366.64. It then fell back to 6,288.25 on Thursday, before finishing at 6,297.30 on Friday. So the market advanced early in the week, surrendered almost all of that rise, and ended very close to where it started. The currency moved more decisively. The Banco Central ng Pilipinas reference rate changed from 60.702 pesos per US dollar on the 7th of August to 61.289 on the 14th. A higher US dollar to peso rate means a weaker peso. The weekly depreciation was approximately 1%. This is an important distinction. A flat equity index in pesos does not necessarily produce a flat result for someone measuring returns in another currency. When we follow the Philippine market, we need to watch the PSEi, the peso and foreign fund flows together. I made no Philippine equity trades during the week. I remain more interested in the operating results and business direction of the companies I hold than in reacting to every short-term index move. Now let us rank all 7 markets by their weekly return. In first place, Singapore. The Straits Times Index gained 0.79%. Second, the Philippines. The PSEi rose 0.11%. Third, Indonesia. The Jakarta Composite Index fell 0.12%. Fourth, Thailand. The SET Index declined 0.18%. Fifth, Malaysia. The FTSE Bursa Malaysia KLCI lost 0.48%. Sixth, Hong Kong. The Hang Seng Index fell 2.15%. And seventh, Vietnam. The VN Index declined 2.20%. 2 markets rose and 5 fell. However, the Philippines, Indonesia, and Thailand all finished within 0.2% of the previous week's close. Singapore was the only clear winner, while Hong Kong and Vietnam were the 2 clear laggards. Singapore's Straits Times Index rose from 5,698.43 to 5,743.59. That was a weekly gain of 0.79%, the best result in our 7-market group. Singapore had only 4 trading sessions because the market was closed on Monday. Even so, it was the only index in this comparison to gain more than 0.5%. Among the markets we track, Singapore showed the clearest relative strength. Indonesia's Jakarta Composite Index moved from 6,409.65 to 6,401.89. The weekly decline was only 0.12%, but that small change hides a large intra-week move. The index fell to 6,267.88 on Tuesday. It then recovered to 6,401.89 by Friday. The starting point and finishing point were close together, but the route between them was volatile. It is a good example of why a single weekly percentage does not tell the whole story. Thailand's ASET index slipped from 1,612.00 to 1,609.06. That was a decline of 0.18%. The Thai market was closed on Wednesday, and the shortened week ended almost unchanged. Malaysia's FTSE Bursa, Malaysia KLCI, fell from 1,735.75 to 1,727.39. That was a weekly loss of 0.48%. The Department of Statistics Malaysia's advance estimate, published in July, showed second quarter 2026 gross domestic product growing by 5.8% from a year earlier. The Malaysian market still declined over the week. Strong economic growth does not guarantee an immediate rise in equities. Economic performance and the expectations already reflected in market prices are not the same thing. Hong Kong's Seng index fell from 25,668.03 to 25,116.85. That was a weekly decline of 2.15%. The index rose to 25,937.49 on Monday, but then fell in each of the remaining 4 sessions. An early advance became a clear late-week reversal. Vietnam was the weakest of the 7 markets. The VN index moved from 1,768.06 to 1,729.08, a weekly loss of 2.20%. On Wednesday, the index reached 1,793.18, moving close to the 1,800 level. Losses then accelerated on Thursday and Friday. Hong Kong and Vietnam therefore shared a similar price pattern, a higher level early or in the middle of the week, followed by late week weakness. That does not mean they fell for the same reason. Similar price action is not proof of a common cause, so it is important to separate the observed movement from speculation about what drove it. There are 3 scheduled events to watch, from the 17th to the 21st of August. First, Thailand is due to publish its second quarter gross domestic product data on Monday the 17th. The growth rate and the official outlook will be important for expectations around the Thai economy. Second, Malaysia is scheduled to release its July Consumer Price Index on the same day. Inflation was 1.9% year-on-year in June. Third, Bank Indonesia will hold its Board of Governors meeting on the 18th and 19th of August. The policy decision is due on the second day. Bank Indonesia kept its policy rate at 5.75% at its July meeting. In the Philippines, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is not due to make its next policy decision until the 27th of August. Before then, the peso and changes in rate expectations may remain important for Philippine assets. Let us finish with the week in 3 lines. Singapore led the 7 markets with a gain of 0.79%. The Philippines was almost flat, up 0.11%, but the peso weakened by about 1% against the US dollar. Hong Kong and Vietnam both lost more than 2%, with the heaviest weakness late in the week. The main lesson is simple. Do not look only at the final weekly percentage. Ask where the index finished, how it travelled through the week, and what happened to the currency. In the Philippines, Indonesia, and Vietnam, those additional details changed the story considerably. Thank you for listening to Pinchu TV. We publish Philippine company deep dives and weekly Asian market coverage in both Japanese and English. I will see you in the next episode. Salamat kaayo amping.